regulations that we have to enforce around here. Right, Court? You bet.
Jim Davis returns to BBC1 on Sunday in his familiar role as the head of the Ewing family when the search begins to find the would-be assassin of JR in the new series of Dallas. It begins at 7:15 on Sunday.
Tomorrow night, play for today, The Adventures of Frank, a young lad who leaves his home in Sheffield to seek his fortune amid the bright lights of London.
And off we go. And off I go to seek my fortune. Like in the fairy tales of old. Perhaps I'll kiss me sleeping beauty. Perhaps I'll find me crock of gold. This was my first glimpse of London. Oh, I was overwhelmed. Yes, city of my dreams.
I only plan to see you London. You can even find a commerce on my beat. We say with no money, but isn't it?
Mick Ford is the young northerner adrift in the glittering city in The Adventures of Frank tomorrow at 9:25 on BBC1.
There's lots of millionaires down Old Street.
Ah, there's horror and suspense in the air as Barry Norman introduces Phil Matey.
Good evening. With Halloween only just gone, this of course is the season for ghosties and ghoulies, long-leggedy beasties and things that go bump in the night. Translating that into strictly commercial terms, it means that in the cinema this is the season for horror movies. And as we shall see, what that means is that it's also the open season for women, since in horror movies women are the natural preordained prey of ghosties and ghoulies, long-leggedy beasties and things that go bump in the night. Well, we'll come back to this deplorable treatment of women in a minute. Meanwhile, let me tell you that we have ghosties and ghoulies both in The Changeling, wherein George C. Scott inhabits a haunted house, and in The Fog, in which a small American town is menaced by the seaweed-bestrewn ghosts of a ship's crew. And long-leggedy beasties and things that go bump in the night are much in evidence in He Knows You're Alone, the tale of a psychopathic nutter whose hobby is chopping up young brides, and When a Stranger Calls, in which an equally psychopathic nutter chops up young children. Not a lot of laughs in that lot, believe me. Nor in Prom Night, where another balmy killer seeks gory revenge for the death of a child. But to ease the tension a bit and to dispel the illusion that the world is entirely populated by homicidal lunatics, we have two location reports. One on the making of The Monster Club, which stars Vincent Price in a light-hearted story about vampires and assorted monsters, and the other on The Dogs of War, the screen version of Frederick Forsyth's thriller concerning mercenaries in Africa. But let's begin with an old-fashioned ghost story, The Changeling, in which the wife and daughter of composer George C. Scott are killed in a road accident even before the credit titles, and you can't get earlier bereavement than that. Well, to pick up the pieces of his shattered life, Mr. Scott moves to Seattle and takes up residence in a cosy little pad, ideal for a lone widower. A house of about 87 rooms, including a music room hardly bigger than the Albert Hall. It's the kind of house that nobody in his right mind would move into, and which in fact exists only for the purposes of horror movies. From the start, you just know there's got to be something spooky about it, and indeed there is.